Hello, boys, and welcome back to the Million Dollar Marathon podcast. We're on episode 4 now. We're going to be looking into the topic of relationships, giving you a little update of what's going on with our grinds as we move into this clusterfuck series of every online site and their dog having a massive main event. So, Max, first of all, our very own online grinder. How are you getting on, mate?
It's been a bit of a whirlwind up and down start. We actually had an 11th in a scoop the other day. I've made one day 2 in a 5:30 PKO. Sadly, finished about, I think, 40th or 41st place. So it's been nice to have some early runs, but no major final tables yet. One highlight of the series so far is I've got a stack through to the 1K main in the 888 WPT deep stacks. Probably be about a $250,000 to first in that one. I've got 80,000 through from a 10K starting stack. That's on, I believe, the 25th of April. And I've started streaming a little bit on Twitch a couple of times, which has been a new move, and it's been quite a bit of a laugh, really. It's mostly been last minute, so some of you might be wondering why I haven't put the link up. But when it's more planned in the future, I will be putting out the link to the Twitch and letting you guys know when I'm going to go live on the Million Dollar Marathon's Instagram. If you do follow us on there, if you don't, head over to just Million Dollar Marathon on Instagram. Follow along. We've been doing some story takeovers as well as posting a couple of bios on there, and there will be, like I say, some Twitch stuff coming, not just from myself, but I believe you as well, isn't there, George?
You've put some good content on there about your day-to-day routine. So tell us that as you kind of moved into this schedule. I guess it's a different beast to tackle, right? There's a slightly different hours of sleep for you. So tell us more about how you transitioned.
Yeah, as anyone who's listened to us so far and followed along knows, I was getting up very early in the morning and running a very rigid, strict morning routine. And it's really not easy to do that when, for example, last night I didn't finish playing till 1 a.m. Then I'm not in bed, relaxed, and sleeping till more like 2:30, 3 in the morning. And then when I wake up at sort of 9, half 9, because of the way my body works, it's in between schedules now. I'm not totally adjusted yet. I often have to just relax for the first hour of my day. I'm still keeping the walking and the workouts and the journaling, etc., up, but also the structure of your day is really different. When you work the morning schedule, you wake up a couple of hours later, you start. When I'm waking up half 9, 10 o'clock, I'm often not starting until 4, 5 o'clock in the evening. So I have a lot more time to figure out what I'm going to do. So one of the main things I did was I joined a couple of mindset programs. So I've taken on a private mindset coach, and I've also joined a program which I believe we've all been a part of in one way or another, which is the Poker Mindset Mastery course.
Yeah.
And James Whittet, shout out to him, by the way, ran an excellent group coaching session on Wednesday, and he gave me a variety of tips. One was, buy like blue blocking glasses, obviously turn off your devices at night. So it's just been an adjustment, really. A lot of fun. Like I say, it's great playing for 50, 100, 200K up top in lots of these tournaments. But at the same time, I'm waking up on 5.5, 6 hours sleep, having grinded 12 hours a day before, a lot more. So it's definitely been tough, but fun. And look, we got 2.5 more weeks of it. So just beginning, really.
Love to hear it. Leo, you've been about a bit, right?
I have been about a bit. I went to Mexico for a couple of weeks with you. We rented a little villa by a pool at the kind of end of the strip in Tulum, which was a cool place. I mean, I think you enjoyed it too, but I liked it. It was very like laid back and bohemian, just kind of wandering up and down aimlessly most of the day, getting a bit of food here and there and getting a bit of sun, hanging out by the pool. Didn't play that much while we were there. Played like a few sessions from a cafe and stuff, but our Wi-Fi was a bit shocking, so we ended up not playing that much when we were at home. I also joined Poker Mindset Mastery whilst I was out there. I've like started doing that course, and one thing I've really taken from that so far has been the Wim Hof breathing thing. Just I've been doing that at the start of the day before I go and do my like daily exercise or whatever, and it's just such an amazing feeling. It's such a new experience. It's kind of like smoking a joint, but like a different way of getting high. It's quite cool.
Floating on clouds and stuff like that.
Yeah,
natural high, which is hard to find.
I need to try that. I need to try that. I'll definitely try that. Yeah.
Breathing is so underrated, which is funny because literally, if we don't do it, we die.
Yeah,
Well, that's it, right?
Such a grounding thing, isn't it?
Everyone's like goes to the gym and works out on their body or their biceps or their abs, right? But not many people actually work out their brain or or their breathing techniques, and these are way more important in my opinion. So I've been enlightened on that as well, and it looks like most of us have.
On the subject of that, Gio, yeah, you did a little challenge, didn't you, mate? Why don't you tell everyone about it? Because that was really cool.
Later, but I want to hear about Leo just quickly. So you're in Vegas now, right? And how are you finding that? Because we talked about that being your personal mecca in poker. You know, it's one long road to Vegas for you.
Yeah, it is. Revolution around the world and end up back at Vegas. It's good. It's been nice being back here. It's very chilled. Got like a nice little place away from the strip. Got a car, rented a car. Been going swimming every day. That breathing combined with then swimming afterwards. It's like breathing and then another form of kind of breathing and exercise. And yeah, I feel good, nice and healthy. It's a struggle with food in Vegas. It always is really difficult to eat, and Mexico as well was really difficult. I've just been shopping. I just went to Whole Foods and got some like actual real vegetables and fruit and stuff.
How much is that? About 500.
Yeah, 3 bags of shopping for $70. But they were half full though. They were nowhere near full. There's a couple of things. One bag was just literally 2 cartons of eggs and a box of tea.
Wow.
So really, it was too bad. Probably could have fit in 1.5. But yeah, it's fine. It's whatever. Like, you gotta eat nice food, don't you, if you want to have a good grind. So, but in terms of games, yeah, the games have been good. I haven't actually played very many tournaments. I played like 4 bullets so far, 3 in a 1K and 1 in like a $400. I didn't really get anywhere. So I've been playing quite a lot of cash because I just played a couple of sessions and I've just found it really like enjoyable, and I got off to a good start. I think I'm up like $5,000 or something, or $6,000 in the first couple of first 9 days, which is obviously really good. Just playing like just playing 2-5 and 5-10, mostly 2-5, because the 5-10 games have been like a bit hit and miss, kind of good for a while and then get really bad really quick. But the 2-5 games have just been off the rails every single day. So it's been really good. Yeah, there's been some funny incidents at the table as well, which I've obviously told you about.
Tell us about that hand history.
Oh,
yes,
man.
give us the story.
All right, so the rest of the hand is not really relevant. I'll save some time. We're on the river. It's 3 ways. I'm first to act. I was in the small blind, and there was about $220 in the pot playing 2-5. And I was thinking about what to do, and then there was 2 older guys in the pot, and the middle position guy just checks out of position, and then the button checks back. And then I said to the dealer, I haven't done anything yet, it's my turn. And then the guy who was on the button started kicking off and getting a bit kind of angry at me, saying that I saw the other guy check, waited until he had acted, and then decided what to do based on what he'd done. And I was like, mate, I didn't even know the other guy checked out of turn. I saw you check, and then I said to the dealer, it's my turn. What was going on here? So there was a bit of friction, shall we say, because I didn't respond very well to being like essentially called an angle shooter or a cheater or whatever. So the floor came over in the end and obviously ruled that it was my turn. And now as the guy's a bit riled up, I thought him checking back, he's going to have some showdown value sometimes, and he's going to be a bit angry with me, so you might pay me off. So I just so I just bet like 185. I was going to go a lot smaller originally. I just bet like 185 into 220, and he just instantly shoves, bearing in mind that when he thought it was his turn, he tried to check back. And then I bet and then I obviously snapped him. Like, I had to pair anyway, but I snapped him off. And then he was absolutely raging, man. He kind of sat there for a minute looking at the board and looking at me, giving me shit, and he was like, you fucking piece of work, this ain't right. And then I was like, why are you getting angry at me, man? You tried to check and I saw you and you went all in when I bet, and now you're angry at me. And then he just grabbed his stack and launched it across the table. And then he was like, he was like 60. And then he stormed out of the room, and he left something at the table, and he had to do the walk of shame back
to come back. Amazing! That's amazing.
I got up and straight outside, and I just couldn't even fathom. He must have just, inside his brain, it was just red. Like, on the river, I'd bet, and it was just completely red. There was nothing, no decision making. No.
The red mist is fully extended.
I guess what's happening though is that he just thinks you're bluffing too much, right? Because you've seen him check. So he must just think, well, he's bluffing way too much here, so I'm going to make him fold his bluff. That must be what he thinks. He must
Yeah,
have
he
a real
must-
trust hand. But I
Yeah,
get
he
it.
must
So
have had like 9 high or
he
jack
must have
high
had
or
a hand that
something.
can't beat a bluff. Yeah,
he's-
must have.
yeah, but he's done that in about 2 seconds flat, and it's been based on no logic whatsoever. It's just
Just
been
value
like-
bet. Wait, I can just value bet really thin, really easily now because I know they
Yeah.
both want to check.
Yeah.
And then when
Yeah,
you shove, obviously never going to fold a thin value bet.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely blew my mind.
And
Yeah, what's
so,
the day?
moving on, Endrit, you've been quite quiet
Hello.
recently. You've been taking a little bit of time off. What have you been up to?
Yeah, I've literally only been playing Sundays, but that's just because I've been busy at the house, mainly painting most days,
Yeah.
and that really takes it out of you. So pushing out energy when I come back, and obviously without any energy, there's no point in playing. You're just going to dust off, aren't you?
Yeah. Have you found yourself a dab hand with the brush?
No, mate.
So eloquent.
Amy does about 70%. I do the other 30. And we're like, yeah, we're a good team. We're a good team.
Got the laptop and the other hand painting the wall.
Mate, that's the same as when we painted our place. Lou's done like 80% of it. I've turned up for like 2 days, done a few hours. And I'm like, oh my god, this is so hard.
Before I literally quit smoking cigs, there was a theme where I'd go outside, I'd have a cig, come back in, like, yeah, we're smashing it. And she was
Yeah,
like, no, we're not smashing it. I'm smashing it. You're just going out for cigs every 10 minutes.
Yeah, I was still smoking when we did ours, mate, and I was taking ample cigarette breaks as well.
Yeah. Chances, a lot of you, mate. Chances. So
The
in general,
Chancellor himself.
since your big win, Endrit, has that changed your motivation to play at all, or is it just because of the transition with the house?
Yeah, it's mainly been the transition, but to be honest, I've not really had the motivation to play just because, like I said, I've wanted to take more time on improving my health and diet
Yeah.
instead of just literally just playing non-stop and just being sat down all the time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome.
But even that's proven harder than I thought it'd be, to be honest, just keeping on top of it all. But I guess
Yeah.
that's because I've got no structure though, because I feel like if I'm at the office or even at my own house, I've got my own kitchen to start cooking on,
But
and then got my
You've had
own
to
room.
change the pattern as well, right?
What's that, mate?
You've had to change your sleeping pattern, I guess, because you were on the very late night grind for a while.
Yeah, and going to the house, I've literally Amy's been waking up at like 8 a.m., 9 a.m., which is just a time I literally rarely never see. So
Yeah.
that's
swing
been
and a
hard.
miss, swing and a miss on 8 a.m. for the last 5 years. Unless you're still up grinding the table.
Yeah, that's the only
Literally.
time you see Endrit before midday is if he's still playing, isn't it?
Ben went to bed at 7 this morning. I'm pretty sure I heard his door just click clack.
Yeah, Sven's bad.
I was waking up.
I think he got the lot last night, though, didn't
Yeah, I think he had a really good day. So
he?
To be fair, Leo, I do find actually respect for it. Like in the live scene, especially as a live cash player, like I feel like a lot of live players, like I feel like we've heard some stories from Joe as well. You kind of play till like the fish leave, right? Till the bad players leave. So there's a lot of 5, 6 a.m. jobs, but you seem to just get the money in the day and make sure you keep your structure up. So that's definitely something you
that's
don't
smart
see that much.
move to longevity. I think if you go to Vegas like young and hungry, you could probably put in those grinds. I think most of us are towards the not obviously anywhere near the end, but we're maturing as people, and in our
Jesus Christ.
we're in our
I'm the
late
eldest. I hope
20s.
you're not near the end, Leo.
Not near the end, but
yeah.
you know what I mean. We're not sort of 21 years old and can play those sessions. And I've noticed over the last couple of years specifically, like the casino and that kind of late night. There's sometimes people smoking in there, and it just creates a weird kind of atmosphere. You've got the guys on roulette doing it in every night. Like they're always pissed off. They bring a negative energy, and then just walking back wherever to the Airbnb or something at 5, 6 in the morning. I don't think it gives me the best feeling about what I'm doing in terms of like a core motivation or something.
Yeah, you mean we're nearing the end of our ruffles?
Yeah,
We're not ruffling about as much.
I've had enough long sessions where I've made a big mistake towards the end in the past where I'm just like, now I'd rather just do my 8 hours, 10 hours and go home when it's 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock and I'm not falling asleep at the table, or I don't feel like I need some kind of stimulant to stay there. So
yeah, I've realized when you're grinding, Well, I was gonna say, I realize when you're grinding, the best time to stop is literally as soon as you start questioning your own thoughts. Because
Yeah,
usually when you're
Yeah.
confident, you just go for it, don't you? And then you think, I'll sort it
Yeah.
out later.
Exactly.
But as
Get
soon as you
I-
question
I-
your thought and you make a mistake, you're like, right, I think I'm getting tired now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll
Time
happily
to
take
stop.
short sessions too. You know, like I'll be the kind of person where if I just have a really good start to the day and I'm up a bag within a couple of hours, I'll just be like, all right, that'll do for the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah,
Why not?
my friend,
Just
when I went Vegas, like last time, which was, I think like 3 years ago, one of my friends, he had, I think, 30 cash sessions during the trip there for a month. And he literally played no longer than 2 or 3 hours each time. And
Yeah,
he
just
won, I think, 28 out of 30 sessions, which was just
Wow.
ridiculous. But
I've won a lot so far.
he also had another trick, which was like, you sit at a table, but if there's no one giving it away, you just get a seat change. Go to a different
Yeah.
table, because Vegas, when WSOP is on, so loads of tables. And he just kept doing that till he found a table where people were giving action. And clearly it works, an absolute treat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Sort of picking and choosing your way around. It's sort of like a very
Yes.
game selection rules, because I imagine you can't. Is it not the sort of place where you can just go and just walk up to a table and put a stack down if there's a free seat?
No, you have to get on the list. There's usually like a 3 or 4 person wait for most places for like a 2-5 game. 5-10 gets one table in a couple of casinos during the daytime. You know, like maybe 3 or 4 5-10 games running in the city if you're lucky.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's mostly like, but there'll be a lot of 2-5. There'll be like 25 2-5 games running at any one time. And you can get a table change, obviously, once you're in there, but you kind of need to request a specific table. You know, you can't just be like, oh, I want to move anywhere. Usually they'll make you choose somewhere. But I found that I haven't really needed to change game yet.
Okay.
I haven't.
That's good.
Yeah.
So
I requested change the other day, but the game just changes naturally by itself.
Yeah, so it looks good for the live scene in Vegas then at the moment. And just moving over to brush up on the introductions. In terms of what I've been up to, I've been sort of recently enrolled myself into like a 30-day sober challenge. It's day 27 now, and I can't recommend highly enough how much more natural energy I've found, how much more motivation to play, and just also like the clarity that it gives you. Obviously, in terms of my crux of alcohol, it was something that kind of you get into like a comfort zone, and that's what I've been thinking about a lot recently. This comfort zone, right, where you've got a routine. Let's say I was playing 5-5 PLO like 4 or 5 times a week, right? You sort of crawl out of the bed. You get a shower, you do all this like quite, normal functioning human being activities, but what you're doing is you're just living in this fog, right? And you're never really operating at full capacity, and you're never really like that motivated to do any work off the table. So I feel like with being completely sober, and I've obviously been housed with Leo, my friend Nick, Dan, all very inspiring and hardworking, smart guys in their own way, that I've managed to kind of, in that move from Slovakia over to Mexico, which is where I'm grinding now, and I've been seeing some really good results. Just that shift in the dynamic in my working space has been brilliant. And I had a long, hard think and an internal look at myself. Obviously, being an extrovert, it's difficult to really pump up yourself to put the long online grinds in. But if I've just got one person in the room who's tapping away, doing something productive, like working on their game, that motivates me and that lifts my spirits, like it would if you're on Skype at the end of a big Sunday grind, right? And someone's got a table, but they're starting to, feel a bit tired. So all in all, I've just had an absolute blast, and I can't see myself ever having that relationship with alcohol again. And in fact, I can categorically say I won't. I will enjoy a few beers with the boys, but I don't see myself going back to that kind of weekend offender routine where it's like Friday, Saturday. Sometimes you waking up and grabbing the cold can of Kestrel out. You know what I mean? It all just blurs into like one long PLO and drinking session. Yeah, you might be the top 2 best players in the local area at that format, but does that really matter if you're still just a bit of a wreckhead who's kind of pissing away his potential? So that's how I view it.
Yeah, I mean,
you save a lot of money.
Yeah, a lot of money.
yeah. I guess
Yeah,
it feels nice taking back control, Gio.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I think I've just noticed so many small improvements in so many areas that you don't either get round to, or you just don't really care about if you're kind of, stumbling about and drinking most days of the week and playing cards. I think it's really important in life to take your passion and try and make as much as you can from it. But if you take your passion and let it kind of like go off the rails, like there are healthy work ethics, and then there are what I was doing, which was very unhealthy, chained to the desk, 12 to 16 hour sessions, not getting that much sleep, not really getting out and doing walking. And I've tried to integrate a lot of those positive things, like going to the gym, walking, Wim Hof, went for an ice bath yesterday, which was a great experience. Just all these little factors that can really give you some momentum and positive thoughts going into your poker grind, which is, let's face it, where we make our money and what we need to do to continue on this journey.
Yeah, one other thing, Gio. Oh, sorry, Max. One other thing is, it's funny how like you start this 30-day challenge, and all of a sudden during these 30 days, you've thought of other ways to improve your life. Whereas if you hadn't started this challenge, I don't think you would have done everything else, like go for a walk, go and do an ice bath, go to the gym as often as you've been. So it's just mad how like one little thing that you've done and focused on starts a chain reaction.
I appreciate that, and I completely agree, because it's you plant one seed and then you start to think, well, how can I improve the whole farm?
Yeah. Between how you live now and how you were living when we were in Nice last year. Like our video of you falling asleep watching corners.
That video.
Alcohol all around the computer, drunk, falling asleep at the desk. Like, happened. But that, I mean, it's funny, but it's also not funny, at the same time. Like, is this really like I'm here trying to make a living playing cards, and the person I'm sharing with, like, this is my friend. It's not very like inspiring, and now it's just like a completely different person to be around, and it's just a huge improvement.
I appreciate that, mate.
Yeah, it's nice.
Obviously, Leo's been the only one who's seen you in this period, Gio. But I was going to say, like, I'm sure Enjit feels the same as me. Even though you're, thousands of miles away in Mexico and on a completely different time zone, mate, even from your social media presence and whenever I've spoken to you in this period of time, and I've told you myself that I'm proud of you, you have made a major difference. It's been, 4 weeks today? And you can just see, the gratitude walks in the morning, hitting the gym all the time, or if not the gym, just doing a bit of cardio on the balcony, it looked like, with a resistance band and a smile. Like, just exactly, and shredding results. Like, another nice score you had, I think it was in the late 525 last night, wasn't it? You picked the W up in just stuff that like wasn't happening to you before. Yeah, and I also think that you're right. It is definitely a snowball effect. Obviously, with myself as well. When you start to do one thing well, I think you do lots of things well. And a lot of what the mindset podcasts and the books and stuff say is the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So if you're not taking control of your sleep pattern, your body, and your drinking, then how do you expect your work, your poker, to be good, and vice versa? And so I think the way, like I say, that's the phrase: the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And I think the way you've changed everything with the one thing has led kind of to this massive kind of big change. And I think you can tell you look healthier, even across a webcam, mate. And I'm sure from the other side of YouTube, the people, they can go back and look at the first episode and they'll see a difference, mate, for sure. You just look happier and healthier.
I watched the second one back, and then that was when I was putting 16-hour sessions in on pretty high stakes PLO, short stacking at 510 and 1020, and I looked like a ghost, and it was just like, what's going on? Is that really the person you just want to be like flinging stacks about in a flat, not getting any sunlight? So, not to blow my own trumpet, but there's been a lot of improvements there, and I think we should brush that one under the carpet, because that went on a bit long. However, we were going to talk about relationships today. We've got a lot to talk about from that perspective. Obviously, Max, Endrit, both in long-term relationships. You both actually got a list from your partners about the pros and cons, right? So I think we should delve down that little side road and see what we can unearth there.
After you.
Yeah, sure. Well, the cons were.
Why are we starting with the cons? I feel like that's going to be
because always end on a high, even if it's just the one. The cons are the fact that, like, well, I guess not so much with Max, but with me is like I tend to try and travel at least like 5 times a year to different cities and countries just to play poker events. But sometimes they'll fall on special days that which obviously means I'll miss with Amy because one of them. But the one special day I do not miss is bonfire night. But apart from that, everything else, poker takes priority. Other ones is timings because, like, for instance, she works 7:30 till 6 p.m. and if there's a series running, I'm usually starting work at about 5 p.m. and finishing between like 4 or 5 a.m. So we literally do not spend time together at all. Then we're just like passing ships. Another con is when I'm on a downswing. Like I'm sure you all experience this, when you're on downswing, you can't help but feel like bad and feel low on energy. And she hates the fact that she can't do anything to help me. And a final con is the fact that other people don't understand poker. So, for instance, she'll get her friends asking her, "Oh, isn't that illegal? Oh, so he's just a gambler. Oh, so he could just lose your house at any moment." It's like, no, that is not a thing. But the pros, there you go, Gio, is the fact that I'm so happy when I'm playing poker, which is obviously just great. Like enjoying your work is just so key, I think. The fact that we get to see the world together, because I think last time we both went on a trip when I just played poker with Marbella, and as you can imagine, Marbella is a nice little city to go to. She was just literally laid by the sun the whole week or however long it was whilst I played the tournament. Can't wait to do that again. Like Spain is just amazing. Mm-hmm. And the final one is within reason, as long as there's no series running, I can pick my own time. So therefore, sometimes I can just like take days off to spend with her, whereas not many people who don't play poker can actually do that. They kind of like, oh yeah, I'll take 2 days off right now.
Yeah, but she can just take a random Thursday off from work, and then you can have the whole day together, right?
Yeah.
That's nice. And Max, were there any similarities in the verdict that you got?
Yeah, the first major one was a pro actually, but we'll start with the cons because apparently we got to end tie the main thing, as soon as I asked Lou to give me a quick list, she basically snapped straight in with the fact that I can't get a mortgage, so I have to do it. We're looking to eventually buy a property, and currently looks like we'll only be able to borrow obviously against her income, obviously, because she's got a normal working 9-to-5 job and I haven't. That's the main thing, and I think probably I can imagine that being the case with a lot of poker players in relationships. Although we, sometimes depending on variance, try and earn a good salary, you can't borrow anything against it, obviously. And then she said that she really didn't find it very attractive when I first met her, and the fact that I was a poker player. And I only found this out recently, actually, when we got talking about this podcast we're going to do. But when we first met, exchanged numbers, rah, you text a bit back and forth, rah, you sort of like each other, you want to go on a date, rah. She wasn't really that keen when she found that I was a poker player. Apparently, one of her best friends kind of thought it was quite cool, and luckily talked her into giving me a chance. And here we are now, or whatever. But yeah, so I think she just didn't think it was very stable, bit of a gambler. Didn't think it was very long term. I don't think she really thought there was anywhere near the structure or thought, strategy, or kind of training, should we say, that goes into it that it does. I think she kind of thought I was a bit of a chancer, clicking a bit of a button, flicking it in, trying to make a bit of money, really. And then obviously,
do you think that that's the general observation from most people when they just see someone sort of fiddling around on the computer all day? There's never really something that's truly respected unless you say like you're working in like some sort of Wolf of Wall Street trading job,
Risk man expert.
Yeah, exactly. Just basically what you are. You're managing your own risk.
To most people, you say and they hear roulette or they hear blackjack.
Literally, they hear roulette.
Do you know the thing that annoys me though? Sorry to cut you off, Leo. I think we discussed this in a previous podcast, so I don't want to go down too much of a rabbit hole on this about people's responses or whatever. But I feel like the thing that frustrates me is when intelligent people know that you're an intelligent person and still think you're just happy to chuck it all in the bin playing a card game. Everything else you've ever seen me do, my grades at school were decent. You think I'm a generally reasonable human being. But as soon as I tell you I'm doing something that's not exactly the same as what you do for a living, I must be a lunatic who's going to lose all my money. But anyway.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, there's a definite irrationality there that's misapplied to poker, and the fact that you can't get a mortgage, even though you're one of the hardest working guys I know. Doesn't matter if I'm talking about poker. I'm including people that I know that work in the corporate world. In that, where's the consistency there? So that definitely sucks. But I mean, back to relationships what was the main positive then?
To be honest, like Endrit said, just the flexibility of hours, the fact that if Lou, my partner, works in a school, so if she's got a 2-week holiday and like you said, Endrit, and there's no series off, she actually has one at the moment, but we're not doing a lot because obviously the series. But when she has a big 2-week Easter holiday or whatever, usually, or her summer holiday, I can be like, right, yeah, we can go away whenever you want. Do you know what I mean? We can go and do this. We can go out for dinner, like you said, Endrit, and do whatever you want. Whereas obviously someone working a normal 9 to 5 would actually get less holiday than, say, a teacher. So there's definitely that, and then she finds it quite attractive how good I am with numbers. Apparently which I had no idea about either. Yeah, she said it's quite sexy how good I am with numbers. Yeah, exactly. I had no idea. I had no idea that calculating pot odds. Yeah, I had no idea calculating pot odds women found sexy, but apparently she does. So what can you say? But yeah, so it was mostly the flexibility of hours, like Endrit said. Yeah, just you can pick up and go, holiday, dinner, let's do it.
Yeah. And Leo, obviously, me and you are like more of the sort of traveling cohort. I mean, I've noticed a lot of friction that can occur from that. Also, a lot of good things. Everything seems to be quite spontaneous for a while, and it's nice and fresh. But I think for me, and I don't know if you agree with this, but the expectations don't quite meet the reality a lot of the time when you get into a relationship and you're traveling or you're living in a different city. I think it can be romanticized from both parties. That we're going to think that girls are going to be happy to just sit there and watch us play poker, and not really know when we could be free, especially if you're playing a tournament grind. How have you had to deal with it?
Yeah, it's definitely difficult. I think a lot of it just comes down as well, though, to like some people are different in relationships than others. And, it's like perhaps Max and Endrit are just more suited to long-term relationships than you or I are. Like perhaps there's different things that are into it. I mean, for me personally, I really enjoy being by myself. And even when I'm in a relationship, I like to just kind of have a lot of time to myself. But something I've struggled with is that playing poker is not the same thing as alone time. And so, when a girl's like, "Oh, can you spend some time with me now?" It's like, "Well, can I have an hour to myself?" Well, you've had a day to yourself. Yeah, but I haven't really. I've been working. It's like you've been at work. I don't tell you you've been by yourself all day. And yeah, just I mean, I think my last relationship really broke down because more of just other struggles. I don't know if poker was really a factor. I think it was more just like incompatibility of like desires in a relationship, and it's like anything, it starts really well, and then once you spend a bit more time around each other and you start to really get to know the other person, perhaps some things stand out that you don't actually like so much. And yeah, so I've always really found it much easier to just not really have that kind of responsibility and be able to just do you want to come to Bali this month? Yeah, okay, I'd like to do that. Great, let's go. I'll see you there. Yeah, it's nice to have that freedom. Obviously you miss it, like if you're alone you get lonely sometimes, but got a nice group of friends around us, and you kind of, the thing with live poker, you're always interacting with people in one way or another. So you've encountered some difficulties too.
I mean, I'm a guy that enjoys wanderlust, and the art of the traveling, and just sort of packing your bags and saying gung ho, where are we off to next?
And that like experience of just kind of putting yourself out there by yourself, there's a real like buzz around that you don't ever really get when you're with somebody. I've really like put my finger recently.
It's really difficult because at the moment I'm obviously making a lot of positive changes, and I really want to share that with Julia, but there's that long distance thing going on. It's very difficult for that kind of when you're on a different time zone and you're sharing things, it can get a bit, someone's like not a morning person and they wake up and you've got all these positive messages on, or the other way around, like you're kind of, you've taken something the wrong way and then they're just like, oh, forget it. I think from both sides, it can be easy to miscommunicate. because there's just not that natural flow of energy and a vibe that you do get with someone in person. So I found it very difficult from that perspective. And just like you say, when you're doing new things and experiencing a new place, you either want it to be with someone and to share those beautiful experiences, or be on your own and be able to explore, and feel like you're not sort of encumbered by that situation, and that can be, sorry,
a lot of compromise, which some people have better than others.
Especially if you're working hard playing online poker, sometimes you just want to go out there and have a bit of a mingle, have a chat, and that's really difficult. So yeah,
and there's another thing that I think I struggle with is like, when if you wanna go and you wanna play poker professionally, you really have to put a lot of time into it. And a lot of players like basically spend their whole day with some routine that's surrounding poker. And so like, once you get to a stage where you're having success and you feel like your routine's really good, chances are you're putting most of your day into that routine. So now you try and add another person to your life. Suddenly you've got to try and find like all these free hours in the week or the day or the week or the month to give to this person. You've got to adjust your routine. You've got to adjust your schedule to fit them. You've got to try and put your lives together. And for me, that always, I found that getting into a relationship often just leads me to go on a downswing, because everything gets taken away from me. Like, everything gets shaken up. I don't have my routine anymore. I build this really successful model, and then I try and get into a relationship and it all falls apart and I have to start all over again with a new one.
Maybe you're trying to go on these like romantic picnics or dog walks or make them breakfast in the morning, and then it's just kind of without it being intentional, it kind of gets in the way of where you're, because you only have an amount of expendable energy per day, I believe, right? And time. And if you're putting that in, if you're sharing that with someone else, it can be very difficult for them to realize that it's not that you're disinterested. It's just the fact that, you've spent 5 years getting to where you are in the game, which is a tough grind. Like I was broke as 18 months ago, and it's very difficult to get out of that 0 to 10K bankroll, because it just feels like every time that you've had a bad month, your living costs are just eating you alive. So, and to get out of that, to get finally a nice bit of like head and shoulders out of that situation, is just so like calming, and it takes a lot of pressure off. And then you have a girlfriend, and it's very difficult, because obviously there's a lot more compromise, and like you say, you're not able to really give poker 100%.
So your earnings go down, the amount of time you play goes down. And I find, like, for example, now if I wanted to have a relationship right now, I'd have to take time from either sleeping, eating, exercising, working towards poker, studying, or playing poker. One of those things, or some of those things, have to suffer. So like, inevitably it's going to have a negative impact on your career. Whether, like, Erin said to me not that long ago, she literally said to me one day, she was like, do you think that being with me limits your potential to like earn money as a poker player? And I was just like, yeah, definitely. Like,
it's unfortunate, but it's a categorical yes. It's not even not really. It's just,
Max disagrees.
Sorry, I've been waiting a while to jump in, but now I have to because I feel like this is good, because this is a great discussion. I've enjoyed listening to you guys. But obviously you've got Endrit and I sat here who are both equally as successful as you guys. And I mean, obviously Endrit's slightly more successful than the rest of us recently. But I think it's
fair though.
No, because I agree and disagree. On the one hand, I'm sat there nodding along, kind of going, yeah. But on the other hand, I think that any single person versus a person in a relationship, the single person would see being in a relationship as taking up XYZ time. I don't watch as many series on my own or films on my own as I used to. So I don't have as much time to watch films, say, that I really like, that Lou doesn't like. I like war films and she doesn't like them. So I don't watch as many war films, because obviously, a lot of the time you watch a film, you spend it watching together when you live with someone. And I'm sure it's the same with you, Endrit, right? But the way that it works, in my opinion, when you're in a relationship is you just naturally find time for the other person, because you care about them and you love them and you want to.
Yeah.
And I think that when I was single, I absolutely would have probably been thinking along the same lines as you guys, like, whoa, like, if I just went from my life I have now, that I've got perfectly figured out, to have exactly what the time I need for everything I like to do, and then you throw someone else in that's perhaps going to end up being a codependent that I'm going to perhaps live with, wow, that's going to take a lot of my time and energy and effort away. But I think that when you are in a relationship and the person's worth being with, you find the time for them. Now,
all I would say, Max, is that a lot of your variables are quite constant. You know, you're not on the road. You're not like changing the routine that often. And you are in what? How long have you been with Lou?
About 2.5-ish years.
Yeah, so there is you know, once you get past a year, I think there becomes a routine that's developed between both of you, right? I think it's difficult in the first year, but once you break through that barrier like you're in now, I think a lot more things become constant. But how do you make things like spontaneous once you do that? Because she knows you're going to be playing poker at this time, this day, this day, this day, you know, keeping the spark.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. That's a good question. I actually was going to refer to the fact that there also is sacrifice involved, as I'm sure Engit would agree with, and there's also other things involved like prioritizing. I have definitely been in relationship before the relationship before Lou. I didn't earn anywhere near as much money as I should have. I wasn't working as hard. I didn't prioritize poker as much. So I would absolutely agree with you if this podcast had happened years ago and that was the situation. But I learned from my mistakes. When I first met Lou, I kind of explained to her, like, you know, this is, you know, my career is really important to me. I work really hard and you know, I'm going to have to sometimes put things on hold so that I can, you know, reach the best of my ability as a poker player. And, you know, she understands that. And I think on top of everything else I've just said, the other thing that I would say is, and we spoke about before we came on camera, is that being with a poker player, being the type of man or woman who's with a poker player, in my opinion, also you have to kind of be a special kind of person. You have to be prepared to deal with the fact that right now we're in a series, and yeah, like Lou's going to go days without seeing me. Like Andrew said, we're ships in the night. I'm currently sleeping in the office. I've got a single bed set up in the office because, you know, you joked about it earlier, George. Like I've been on Skype calls where I've been whispering because it's 1, 2 in the morning. She's already texted me or come in the room once, bless her, because I've woke her up. You know, she may or may not have work the next day, you know, and we're having a giggle and a laugh trying to keep morale up. You know, there's definitely tough things, but I kind of feel
that. I agree with you there as well. And like you obviously have got more. I don't know. What I struggle with is like if I'm in a relationship with somebody and they're at home and I'm playing poker, it's not even that they haven't said, oh, you know, it's fine, don't worry about it. It's that I still have this little nagging thing in the back of my head that I feel a bit guilty. I get distracted by it. I'm like, I should be spending time with you, but I'm just going to end up registering more tournaments, and then probably the same thing's going to happen tomorrow. And then like they end up feeling a bit neglected. I think as well, I seem to naturally bond with girls who are a bit more like emotionally attached as well, which is probably not necessarily a good thing for being like a poker player. But yeah, it's really tough out there.
I think that makes that. Oh, go on. Sorry.
I was just going to say there's a difference as well between like the lifestyles of Gio and I and you and Endrit. Like you two
absolutely
are happy staying in one place, and like that's your goal in life. You're happy to like have your home and live in it and kind of create your happiness that way.
Don't get me wrong, I love traveling.
I know you do.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing as well. Like
I just do some traveling, right?
Yeah.
Me and Gio both like deliberately want our lives to be such that we travel around because that's what we really enjoy. That's one of the reasons we got into poker, is because we love where it takes us and we like to be on the move constantly.
Freedom.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, Andrew and I both sort of immediately were thinking, yeah, we do like to travel, but I agree. I'd never spend 6 to 9 months of the year outside of the UK, but I'd try and go abroad sort of 6, 7, 8 times. Anyway, that's besides the point. You definitely have a different lifestyle. I just think that there's kind of a difference in opinion, I guess, which makes sense. You know, the two guys that are either in,
I think
that are either single or in kind of
compromise in many ways, and I think that me and Leo are more to the no compromise, where I think you're happy finding a balance there and working it out together with Lou a little bit more, because you know you're aware of the fact that sometimes during her free time you're still playing, so there does need to be a sort of a decent amount of free time between you guys.
There's definitely people that are more like nesters and people that aren't, and you two are definitely, you know, I don't consider myself to be not at all a free spirit, but you know, I feel like I do. You know, I'm very close with my family. I would never want to be so far away from them for a very, very extended period of time. all the time. And I think that, you know, and I'm wanting to start a family soonish, you know, in the next year or two. And I think all these things kind of come into it, you know, your life plan, because as much as we're a poker player, you're a person as well. And I think that where your interests lie outside of poker and after poker are definitely relevant to all of the above we're discussing, right? Like Leo said, and I think that was a really good point you made, it's possible that maybe your personality just is less suited to a serious relationship. Maybe you don't want to be a family man as much as NJ and I do. Maybe that's just you're going to be a wanderer for the rest of your life, and that's just, you know, and that's how you fit into it, and that's why you struggle to settle
it might
down.
just be you're not ready. It might just be literally not ready.
It could
for a
be that as
relationship.
well. Yeah, of course,
say,
it could be that as well.
I was going to say, I can see myself one day, like when I want to play less poker and perhaps want to have a family, I would want to do that when I feel like I've got the money to support me and I can take enough time to put into it. You know, I wouldn't want to be the person that has a family but doesn't ever do them because you're working, doesn't ever, you know, spend any time with them because you're working all the time. But I can see myself like setting up a situation where I'd be mostly in one place with a bit of traveling and be happy. But you know, that's kind of what I'm working towards, but it's just not really for me at the moment. I think.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think you can all agree, like, with poker, we all got into poker because, like, the freedom aspects and all this and flexibility. But really, if you actually want to be really good at poker, like with anything, like with any sport, any profession, it's very time consuming. And sometimes that's what gets in the way with relationships. But, like, because I agreed with Leo, like, I always thought, like, Amy was stopping me from achieving, like, from becoming, like, great in a short period of time. But really, as soon as, like, she actually started helping me, like, become a better person and suggest things like quitting weed for 40 days and other stuff and like prepping my meals, all of a sudden I've had like the best year already.
Yeah.
And I already feel great. So as soon as you get them on their side, so to speak, with your vision, life does become a lot easier.
Yeah, see, I would
Yeah.
I'd also say exactly. I'm not going to lie. Like, do I think it's a total coincidence in the 2.5 years I've been with Lou, and you know, in the best relationship I've ever been in my life? Is it any coincidence that I've then continued to make the most money? I mean, sure, there's a lot of other good things that have happened in that time. I've met all you guys.
5 years of
Podcast.
foundation before that, where you've been on a natural upwards trend. You've met
Yeah,
better
I
players,
agree.
good players that you can converse with like that. I'm not going to say it wasn't, you know, definitely. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's not definitely going to happen, but you have been on an upwards curve. Like you've shown me your career graphs, and it is sort of moving steadily up the ABIs. And I think that was almost inevitable. But I understand getting from that mid stakes to now where you're sort of playing some 530s and 1Ks during the scoops and stuff on most of the own dime, right? Getting to that stage, that does require, you know, either a loyal companion or someone that you really want to share your success with as well, just for that emotional support that Endrick was talking about.
And we also like only ever get to see one side of it. Like you two will never know if this whole time, if you'd have been single, perhaps your results would have been 3 times as good as what they are now. Perhaps they would have been 10% as good as what they are now.
Endrick could have done any better, to be honest.
Yeah, this is what I mean. I feel like I'm sat here.
Auto booked you for 50%. It's another 5 bags. It's like, yeah, great.
I'm just sat here. Exactly. I'm just sat here. I'm sat here having Edge go. Yeah. I used to think that Amy would stop me from reaching most of my potential, but actually, since I won all this money in the last year, I've actually changed my mind about that. Do you reckon? Do you reckon I've won the absolute cake? And also, yeah, she's the best thing that's ever happened to me. So maybe it's been a good thing overall. I'm not sure. I mean, really, I do think
2 million.
yeah, exactly. Might have won. Yeah.
Next month, the $2 million marathon. So to round things up, we were going to look into some of the viewers' questions. We had one from Harry, which was talking about how you focus in on realizing what your best game type is. And that's a great question, right? Because even within Hold'em, which is like the normal sort of bread and butter vanilla format of the game that everyone plays and enjoys, you've got PKOs, you've got tournaments, you've got spinning goes, you've got 10 big blind cash games, deep cash games, you know, 6 max, a full ring. Max, in terms of when you started, because you've been the most consistent in terms of game choice, you've played some NL08 and things like that, right? But you've been a bread and butter Hold'em tournament player for as long as you can remember. So what was your early experiences with picking games? Did you even bother, or did you just find it and stick to it?
So I think for whatever reason, I always just like the idea of, we discussed this again in an earlier podcast. I turn up, you put $10 into a tournament and you can walk away with 500, 1,000, 2,000. It's amazing. It doesn't matter how hot you run, how amazingly, how many times you stack people, how many people enjoy it up. If you sit down with $100 in the cash game, you are not leaving
without going down memory lane.
10 grand. Yeah.
What brought you to Hold'em in particular?
Oh, I see. I guess it was just the first game I was profitable at with double or nothing a long time ago on PokerStars. Ended up in the 180 man sit and goes, and I think that it was just a game that resonated with me the quickest, that I got comfortable with the most, read and studied the most about. And like I say, with tournaments, just the fact that you can win 50, 100, 200 times you buy in, that's always attracted me more. And then I just naturally, I guess, just had more of a knack for that type of game where my skill set lied better. Cash games have never interested me as much at all.
Okay. And Leo?
I started off playing like live low stakes tournaments at the casino, and I just really I never got into poker via online. I really always enjoyed the live aspect. So I kind of used online tournaments as like a training ground, get a lot of hands in, make a little bit of money, whatever. But for me, it's just, you just got to choose what you enjoy. What do you get excited to play? What do you think about playing? I always grew up watching the EPT, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to go and play these big live stakes, high stakes live tournaments. And for me, that's where the enjoyment comes from. I don't really get that enjoyment out of online. So it's just whatever works for you. Try everything and see what captivates your interest. Really, wherever you think you have the biggest edge.
And I think that's good advice, particularly for someone that is like a solid recreational player, because if you do a slightly different format, you're not going to be losing that much in it, even, because you've got a solid foundation in the game. But I mean, personally, I would definitely say that PLO is probably going to be like looking the most juicy game if you're not quite at the level to make money full time from poker. Would it be fair to say that moving towards PLO would just be the obvious choice these days?
I think so, yeah. Especially if you want to kind of.
I saw you wince there, Max.
Well, I was going to say I was going to say it's the least solved, but what I wanted to say quickly, without going into too much detail, just because Harry, to you, mate, who asked the question, just do what you enjoy the most. I know it's really cliche and obvious, but the thing you enjoy the most, I mean, if you want to take this game seriously, you are going to put in hundreds, thousands perhaps of hours studying, and then definitely thousands of hours playing. I mean, I did more work for this I've done way more work for this than my degree, more work than my whole education. This you're going to have to study the fuck out of this game.
And the harsh
do
reality
what you enjoy.
The harsh reality is you really got to want it, and you're not going to just be able to walk into a poker career like you may have been able to do 10 to 15 years ago. I mean, even in the last couple of years, it does feel like there's, I don't know if this is like a bias or anything, but it does feel like there's slightly less like younger players coming through. Is that something that you've noticed?
Look how hard Dan works. Look how hard Dan Moran. Shout out to Dan Moran, the youngest guy in our group, the one we talked about before. Eventually, we will have him on the podcast. The guy works so hard. The guy works out outrageously hard.
He's a new age poker pro, right?
He goes
to work every day. He's got a good routine. He's 21 and he's doing like the Wim Hof and all these press ups in the morning stuff like
that. It took us 8 years to get to, Gio. It took us 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. I've been doing this shit. I'm just realizing 5 months ago I probably need a routine and to maybe do a bit of exercise and maybe do some other shit. The boy's 21, mate. The boy's 21. He's already, he's a proper professional. He looks at him. He can look himself in the mirror. It took us years to know all this shit. We were just clicking buttons in, like you say, Gio, and off on the jolly with the winnings.
Yeah, go on.
I was gonna say, I think one other thing that it requires, which you didn't used to like 10 years ago, is just literally mental strength.
Yeah.
I think nowadays that's what poker.
I know.
It was still required.
I disagree with you, Andrew. I disagree with you. Downswing still hurt 10 years ago.
Yeah,
it's not even downswing though, but it's dealing with all the factors of poker, like what comes with it. Because back in the day, people were so bad that your downswings wouldn't actually be as bad.
And there were no many professionals.
Yeah, now people are so good that if you're not actually mentally strong, you can go on a major downswing, just easily be on the verge of quitting.
I think that people are starting to treat the game more like you have to treat the game more like you're an athlete. I was speaking to my mindset coach the other day. Shout out to Karim. And like we were talking about, you got to treat it like you're an athlete. And there's no part of me when I first started getting into this game that was looking at, the way that a sportsman trains, and thinking that one day I'd try and do that myself, mentally and physically. And now it's, how long were you in that ice bath for, Gio?
I did about 3 or 4 minutes or something like
Yeah.
that. I actually
And
asked to be timed because I didn't want it to be competitive, because I know that
Fair
would
enough.
have kind of killed the enjoyment of it a bit, which
Fair enough,
happened
but
when
I saw you get out, and it's like that's serious shit. That doesn't sound like a long time. Anyone who's not sat in an ice bath before, 4 minutes, go and do it. This is serious shit we're talking about. Like, and that's the kind of thing it takes now, I think, to make it. Like, if you're not doing it and the other guys are, you're immediately behind the trend. And I'm not just talking
you're
about
giving
looking
away,
at videos. Yeah.
The funny
it's like
thing
you're
is, like,
yeah.
Andrew?
Sorry, go on.
I was like, when I first got into having a good routine, I feel like even out of our group, I was like quite far ahead of everybody else. But and that was only like 2 years ago, probably. And in the 2 years, I was way ahead of the population in terms of like having a good solid routine and like knowing that was a
way
solid
ahead.
And I was way ahead. And like now it's like it's instantly caught up in like a year. I mean, a lot of regs are still not doing it. A lot of like established regs are still not doing it. And I know a lot of like new guys are still not putting the work into their like lifestyle and stuff that they should be, but the awareness is like woof, the awareness that's important has just taken off.
It's because you're like Ben CBs and guys like that, like Ben CB, for example, on Instagram, doing hundreds of
and
hundreds of burpees, hundreds.
He's doing taekwondo or whatever, jiu-jitsu on a Sunday morning before the grind, sweating his bollocks off, getting straight in the chair 12 hours in front of the computer playing high stakes. And that is something to emulate. And guys, if you are watching, we don't just rabbit on about this crap to be kind of self-serving and to look like we're the best or whatever. We just realize that it's something that we have to do in this process to be competing at the highest level that we can be at in poker. And I think that if you're watching and you're thinking, oh, I don't mind card games and poker could be fun, the time's moved on a little bit. You need to really want it to make something.
One thing to add, just to quickly say, like, I think the great way that poker's transitioned to now is like, to become a great poker player, you almost have to become a great person. Yeah. So it's nice that to actually to reach the top, you almost literally got to become a better person, therefore do.
That's funny because
lifestyle choices.
When you first get into poker, you actually probably have the opposite of that image, because everybody tells you about what a dark industry it is and how degenerate everybody is. You assume that you're probably going to become a bit
how lazy you're going to be and shit.
How lazy you're going to be. You just assume everyone around you is going to be an absolute slime bag and it's going to be every man for himself. But this is the least expected part of my poker career, is the like self-improvement and
the poker athlete work.
Yeah, I'm glad as well. I'm glad as well, guys. I feel like we spent a lot of time today talking about stuff that hasn't really had anything to do with two cards sat at a table throwing chips about. So I think hopefully people can see there's a different side to the stuff that we're interested in, the stuff I'm going to talk about going forward, and it might resonate with some of the non-poker players. But absolutely, like that, there's definitely a new wave. Like the kind of
there's no two ways about it. Poker is a lifestyle, right? And you either get on board with it or you fall behind. You can't just play you do a bit of study during the week and play a Sunday from time to time. You might get some good results, but you're just going to be so far behind everyone that's there Monday to Friday, running sims, watching videos, doing work off the table. So I think to wrap it up, definitely the theme of that message was, there's a lot of commitment that's required. So guys, any last thoughts and opinions that they need before moving into episode 5?
I think just in general, if people want to put questions, we'll try and answer them in the future.
So questions and comments, guys. Yeah.
Gonna say just a quick one. We might struggle to get the next podcast out just because of the amount of series that are running right now.
Yeah, great.
With all the time zones as well.
We've got series on Scoop, on PokerStars,
Power Fest.
888 are doing one as well. So
there's literally like 4.
A lot of stuff going on. Yeah, so do bear with us, please. And if you've enjoyed it, let us know as well. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Cheers very much.
See ya.
Take care, guys.